It was supposed to be just another political event, a hall filled with anticipation, hundreds of people waiting to hear Charlie Kirk speak. The atmosphere buzzed with excitement, phones lifted high, cameras rolling, conversations overlapping. Then, in an instant, everything shattered. A single sound cut through the noise, sharp, metallic final, a gunshot. Panic rippled through the room like an electric current, screams echoed, people dove to the floor, others froze, eyes wide with disbelief. What had just happened? Was it a prank, a malfunction, or something far worse? Charlie Kirk, a husband, a father, and one of the most recognized conservative voices in America, had been hit. Security rushed the stage, attendees screamed for help. Somewhere in the back, a voice shouted, "Get down!" The chaos was overwhelming. But amid the confusion, one man's reaction stood out, and it would ignite a nationwide firestorm. While others screamed in shock or cried in fear, a man in the crowd raised his hands and began to cheer. "USA, USA!" he shouted over and over. Cameras caught it all: his face, his smile, his chant. Within minutes, the footage spread like wildfire across social media. Millions watched it, millions judged it, and soon one question began echoing everywhere: who cheers during a tragedy? That man's name was David, a person no one expected to become part of this story. His brief moment, less than 10 seconds, became a viral symbol of something darker, a reflection of how divided, desensitized, and emotionally fractured the country had become. But as the internet debated David's motives, law enforcement had a different focus: the shooter. The man accused of pulling the trigger, Tyler Robinson, a name that until that day meant nothing to the public. But now it was everywhere: headlines, broadcasts, social media feeds. Witnesses described Robinson as calm, almost unnervingly so. He didn't run, he didn't shout, he just stood there, weapon in hand, before being subdued by security. Early reports claimed he had been influenced by online rhetoric, that his actions were driven by ideological hatred. Others argued he was mentally unstable, detached from reality, and desperate to make a statement. Within hours, police confirmed what everyone feared: this was no accident, it was a targeted attack. The footage of that single gunshot and of the man cheering moments later became the foundation of an investigation unlike anything Turning Point USA had ever faced. Interviews followed, statements poured in, and the search for truth began. But the truth, as investigators would soon learn, was far more tangled than anyone expected. Because while one man lay fighting for his life, another was being accused of murder, and both stories were about to collide in a way that would test the limits of justice, loyalty, and public perception. This wasn't just about politics anymore. It was about human nature and how quickly a moment of violence could turn into a national spectacle. In the next section, we dig deeper into the investigation, the evidence, and the shocking trail that led straight to Tyler Robinson. In the days following the shooting, chaos gave way to confusion, and confusion soon turned into obsession. The media couldn't stop talking about it. Every headline carried the same two names: Charlie Kirk and Tyler Robinson. One was a victim, the other an alleged assailant. But behind those names were two stories, both human, both disturbing, and both far from complete. Investigators began piecing together the moments that led up to the attack. Eyewitnesses described seeing Tyler standing near the middle of the audience, hands in his pockets, calm but distant. He wasn't shouting, he wasn't recording, he wasn't even moving much. Then, when Charlie started addressing questions about gun rights and violence, something in Tyler seemed to change. Security footage confirmed it: a subtle shift in posture, a tightening of the jaw, eyes narrowing on the stage. Then came the shot. When officers detained Tyler, his face was pale, his voice almost emotionless. According to reports, he said only one thing: he needed to be stopped. Those words sent shockwaves through the country. Stopped from what? Speaking, leading, existing. Within hours, law enforcement discovered several troubling posts on Tyler's social media accounts, cryptic comments about truth, control, and fighting back. Some messages directly mentioned Charlie Kirk, others hinted at frustration with public deception. It was enough to spark a nationwide debate: was this an act of political hate or the breakdown of a troubled mind? Meanwhile, inside Turning Point USA, fear turned to outrage. Staff members who had worked alongside Charlie described him as a fighter, a voice of reason, and a man who never backed down. Now they were left waiting for updates from the hospital, and updates were grim. Charlie was in critical condition. But as the investigation expanded, something unexpected surfaced. David, the man who had cheered in the crowd, the viral clip of him shouting USA, had now been viewed tens of millions of times. The internet had already made up its mind. He was celebrating the shooting. When David finally spoke, his words only deepened the mystery. He claimed his chant was not meant as celebration but as distraction. He said he wanted to project strength to keep people calm and prevent panic. But that explanation didn't sit well with everyone. How could a man's first instinct during chaos be to cheer? How could anyone believe that shouting USA would calm a panicked crowd? Online, theories multiplied. Some said David was working with Tyler. Others insisted he was planted to create confusion. A few even suggested he was an undercover operative trying to control the narrative. The truth, though, remained unclear. Investigators confirmed that David wasn't part of any official security team. He wasn't on the event staff, he was just there, a regular attendee who became a viral headline. As public outrage grew, both Tyler and David became symbols of two sides of a deeper national divide. One side saw Tyler as a symptom of ideological radicalization, the other saw him as the product of a culture that pushes people to extremes. And in the middle of it all lay Charlie Kirk, still fighting for his life, still unable to speak for himself. The country waited for answers, but what came next would only raise more questions. Because when Tyler finally spoke from custody, what he revealed would change everything and force the world to ask, was this attack really about politics, or was it something much darker? When the interrogation video of Tyler Robinson finally surfaced, it wasn't what anyone expected. The room was dim, cold, and silent, the kind of silence that feels heavy, like the air itself is listening. Tyler sat across from two detectives. His hands clasped, his face expressionless. He looked nothing like the man from the viral clips. Gone was the wide-eyed figure from the crowd. This was someone detached, deliberate, eerily calm. Detective Harris leaned forward. "Why did you do it, Tyler?" Tyler's eyes flickered just once before he whispered, "He wasn't who he said he was." The detectives exchanged glances. Harris continued, "You're talking about Charlie Kirk." Tyler nodded slowly. "They made him into something he was, they made all of us believe." Those words set off alarms across the country. Social media lit up with speculation. Who was they? What did Tyler mean by "made us believe"? Within hours, conspiracy forums were flooded with theories, government experiments, mind control, hidden agendas within political groups. But the investigation took a darker turn when detectives accessed a set of encrypted files from Tyler's laptop. Inside were notes, pages upon pages of writings titled "The Mask They Wear." Each entry was a mixture of paranoia, obsession, and chilling conviction. He wrote that public figures were agents of distraction, meant to control thought through fear, that their speeches contained coded messages guiding society's behavior. Forensic psychologists later described the documents as evidence of delusional disorder, possibly fueled by online radicalization and isolation. But others weren't so sure. Some of Tyler's files referenced real people, real events, moments that had actually happened. The detectives pressed further. "What did Charlie do to you?" Tyler leaned back, eyes fixed on the ceiling. "He lied. Every word out of his mouth was a script. I had to wake people up." When asked who told him that, Tyler simply said, "They showed me." "They," Harris repeated. "Who are they, Tyler?" Tyler smiled for the first time. "You'll see soon enough." It was the kind of cryptic statement that left both investigators and the public uneasy. And while most dismissed it as the ramblings of a disturbed man, others believed it hinted at something more, perhaps a network of people who had influenced Tyler's actions. Meanwhile, David, the man from the crowd, resurfaced. He told reporters he had received anonymous messages online warning him to stay quiet. The FBI confirmed his account, revealing that several people connected to the event had been harassed or threatened. The tension reached its peak when doctors announced that Charlie Kirk had regained consciousness. For a brief moment, the nation held its breath. Would he identify Tyler as his attacker? Would he confirm or deny the strange claims spreading online? But when Charlie finally spoke, his words stunned everyone. "I don't remember anything after walking on stage." That one statement changed everything. It meant the only living person who truly knew what happened that day remembered nothing. And with Tyler refusing to explain further, the story shifted from tragedy to mystery. The public began demanding transparency. Why wasn't more evidence being released? Why did some parts of the footage suddenly disappear? And why did people close to the case keep going silent? As the media frenzy reached its breaking point, one chilling truth became clear: whatever happened that day wasn't just about politics anymore. It was about control, manipulation, and the thin line between belief and madness. And in the next chapter, that line would shatter completely. Because what happened after Tyler's arrest would expose secrets no one was prepared to face. The morning of the court hearing felt different. The sky hung low and gray, like the world itself was holding its breath. Reporters lined the courthouse steps, microphones ready, cameras rolling. Tyler Robinson, dressed in an orange jumpsuit, was led in under heavy security. He looked thinner, quieter, almost hollow. But when he lifted his head, there was still that unsettling calm in his eyes, the same look that had haunted people ever since the footage went viral. The prosecution presented their evidence: the gun, the encrypted files, the witness testimonies, but the defense had something unexpected: a psychiatric report suggesting that Tyler may have been part of a larger manipulation. They called it influence engineering. Now that term caught everyone's attention. The defense attorney explained that Tyler had been in online communities where users were subtly radicalized, not through threats or commands but through stories. They used emotional triggers, repetition, and coded narratives to build a belief system, one post at a time. Tyler didn't even know he was being changed. And honestly, when you listen to that part, it sends chills down your spine, doesn't it? Because it's not just him. It's happening everywhere, quietly on screens we all stare at every day. When the prosecution played the final piece of evidence, a message Tyler had sent just hours before the attack, the entire courtroom fell silent. It read, "The truth will burn through lies, tomorrow they'll see it." But what truth? No one knew. Then came the real twist. During the trial, a whistleblower from one of the tech firms Tyler had mentioned stepped forward. He provided internal chat logs suggesting that certain user accounts in those forums were, in fact, automated, controlled by unseen entities running psychological experiments. Suddenly, everything Tyler said didn't sound so impossible anymore. Still, the judge ordered Tyler to undergo a long-term psychiatric evaluation, citing concerns for public safety. The case was adjourned. But as everyone was leaving the courtroom, a voice from the back shouted, "He wasn't crazy, he was chosen." Security immediately escorted the man out, but the damage was done. The words spread like wildfire online. And you know what's strange? Just a week later, new accounts began posting online, accounts using Tyler's exact writing style, his same eerie phrases. Theories reignited. Some said Tyler's followers were continuing his mission. Others believed the posts were AI-generated to keep the chaos alive. Today, the truth about what really happened still feels tangled. Tyler remains in psychiatric custody, refusing interviews. Charlie has returned to work but avoids mentioning that day entirely. And those encrypted files, they've never been made public. Officials say it's for national security reasons. But deep down, people still wonder, was Tyler Robinson just another lost man swallowed by misinformation? Or was he onto something the rest of us aren't supposed to see? Strange, right? Because sometimes when you start pulling threads like these, you realize the truth doesn't just set you free, it traps you deeper. And maybe, just maybe, that's exactly how they want it. If you've made it this far into the story, you already know how wild this case really is. But here's the thing, this is just one of many. So if you love deep dives into real-life mysteries, unsolved cases, and the stories they don't want you to know, make sure you hit that subscribe button right now. Turn on notifications, drop your thoughts down in the comments. I really want to know what you think about Tyler Robinson's case. Was he manipulated or did he uncover something bigger? Let's talk about it. And as always, stay curious, stay alert, and never stop asking questions.